So just to start off with everybody, we'll call the meeting. We'll call the meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. For your minutes, Stacy. Just to let everybody know, Steve Moore has reached out to me asking, letting us know that he would not be able to attend the meeting tonight. So kind of a last minute thing came up for him. So here we are. So we do have a quorum, so we'll proceed accordingly. First piece is to approve prior meeting minutes. Stacy, do you know what have we sent anything out or for review?
Yes, I did. I did just send it out, but I sent it out today. I'm sorry. I didn't realize I didn't send it last week because I got sidetracked by the survey that we were doing. So I did just send that today. So my
Okay. All right. And Stacy, could you remind me what was the date on those minutes?
Let me take a look. Hold on one second. Look at my meeting minutes.
18.
Let's see.
It's July 10th, right?
July 10th. Yeah, I'm just looking through my sentence.
Well, the last SBC, I think, was June 28th, wasn't it?
No, June
18th.
June 18th.
June 18th. Yes, June 18th.
Yeah, June 18th. Sorry.
Not the subcommittee meeting, Merrill. The SBC meeting minutes.
Oh, okay.
June
Okay.
18th.
Yeah, those were sent out, I believe, right after we had it. Look.
Okay. All right.
I don't got anything. I don't think anyone. I'm not sure if anyone had taken a look at them yet.
Okay. All right. I should ask the question: have folks had a chance to read them, or should we take a pass? What's the general sense from the committee?
Maybe we should take a pass.
Okay, we can do that. We can pass on the minutes. That's fine. It's fine. Okay. That's easy enough. Stacy will take a little more time, take a look at that and vote at our next meeting. So that's fine. Not an issue. Okay. One thing moving on to the next item on the agenda, one thing we definitely do need to do, which is to review and approve of our invoices. Did Steve we did get the packet. It was sent out today to Steve, but did Steve forward it to everybody? I was in meetings for most of the day, so has anybody seen that?
I have
sent to Steve Moore.
Yeah, yeah. So let's see if I can try to get this and share it. So it was sent out today. Bear with me. Steve should have forwarded it to everybody, but
well, we sent a package out to the whole committee last week, including the
okay. Yeah. So let me just take a look. So we are specifically looking at the exact bills. Hold on. Bear with me here. Okay. So all right. I'm going to try to share my screen, everybody, and we can go and I'll have Mark go through it. So hold on 1 minute. There we go. All right. Let me open it. I'm working between two computers here, guys, so please be patient with me here. And go to my email. All right. Can anybody see that? Is that coming up as PO 202-42475?
just like we can just
It's the agenda.
Still the agenda. Okay, let's
Yep.
move on to that then. Thank you.
Ryan, I can pull it up if you'd like.
Right, but it's got to be on our invoices. So
okay,
why don't you just have it there in background for the time being? And okay, let's just This is. All right. All right, how about that?
There you go.
Perfect.
Yep.
Okay, all right. All right, so Mark, you want to walk us through these?
Absolutely. So, and we can talk later about the cash flow, and we can show you the breakdown that we have for Turner Townsend Hearing in Studio G. But this is Studio G's invoice of $90,000 for work in the feasibility study. Contractor market $360,000, broken down. A feasibility study billing of $90,000. And Turner Townsend and Heary, same situation, feasibility study. You keep going down, 11,000. No, you can stay right there, I guess. $11,028 for June for feasibility study for Turner Townsend Heary.
Okay. So I think these are just the two bills that we'd have. I just want to make sure and look
Correct.
sideways.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the 2-1. Okay. All right. So can I get a motion for this would be $90,000 to approve of the invoices as submitted from Studio G for $90,000 and the Turner Townsend and Heary invoice for $11,028.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Okay. All right. I think we have a Chuck, did you second or?
I did. I think Kelly. Yep.
All right, so Kelly made the first motion, Chuck seconded. All those in favor, we're gonna do this by roll call. So Kelly?
Kelly, yes.
Okay, Stacy?
Yes, Stacy Damaris, yes.
Yes, okay, Chuck?
Chuck DeCoste, yes.
Okay, Bob Romley?
Bob Romley, yes.
And Michael Scaduto?
Mike Scaduto, yes.
Okay, and Ryan Ferrari, yes, that's unanimous. Okay, very good. I'm gonna stop the share there. Okay. Congratulations, Studio G and TTH, you get paid this month. Fantastic. Okay. So, next up on our agenda is a report from the design slash site subcommittee. That meeting took place, I believe it was it last Wednesday? Kelly, does that sound right?
Yes, it was last Wednesday, July 10th.
Okay. So, and was there anybody else on this call who was a member of the committee who participated in that as well?
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
Yes.
Mike is here and Stacy.
Yeah, I'm here.
Mike and Stacy. Okay. All right. So, Kelly, I'm gonna, if I could ask you to take the lead on it in terms of what you talked about and what the subcommittee learned from that session.
Sure. We took a look at a number of potential scenarios. Scenario one was a code upgrade with the keeping the school and just renovating it. We had two options for addition rental, a renovation as well, and two options for new construction on the Shaker Lane site. And we looked at another option, we called it 4-1, an alternative site, and that was on a site in the field beside Russell Street School as well. We took a look at evaluation criteria so that we could use a matrix to evaluate the options that were presented to us at that meeting. We filled out the forms, and I believe Studio G will be looking at the results tonight. Which was nice about the meeting is we did have time to talk together as a group and take a look at the various options. And even before we completed the survey, we were pretty well on the same page in terms of what options that we felt were viable. So very productive meeting. And thanks to Studio G for having everything ready for us. There's a lot of work that was put into that presentation.
Do you want to quickly pull up the presentation, Mary Lee, and just run the committee through it and what was presented?
I'm doing a little bit of a summary and recap in our portion of the presentation. Do you want me to just go ahead and do that now or wait until later?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of the people here that haven't seen what Kelly just referred to, I think if we can quickly go through what the options were and they can get a sense of what was decided upon, and then we can go through the rest of your presentation as needed.
Okay, perfect. So as Kelly explained, we did look at 6 options in detail. In conjunction with this, we did get a list of 62 town-owned properties in Littleton, and we evaluated all of them. Almost all of them were immediately eliminated because they are simply not large enough. Some of them we looked at a little more closely, and Ryan helped us to figure out which ones, if any, had no like conservation requirements on them, or ones that are landlocked, things like that. And we ended up finding out of those 62, there weren't really any other additional sites. So Whitcomb Field was really the only viable site in the town outside of the Shaker Lane campus.
Can you zoom out it's a little,
We're
Oh,
just
you
saying
know what?
that, yeah.
It shared
Mhm.
the wrong. I thought it was sharing my presentation, but I guess not. I have it pulled up full screen on another page here. So
yeah, but we're only seeing a portion of it. There we go.
That's better.
How's that?
Excellent. So you want to
Okay.
just go through the beginning from the option?
Yeah. Yep.
Code upgrade, or whatever, this works, yeah, whatever.
Okay. So this is an overall summary of all of them. We looked really in depth, looking at, play space areas. Can it be made accessible? What's the potential for expansion in the future? How does vehicular circulation work? And how does the overall building fit on the site? Pros and cons of various aspects of each one of these. The NSBA requires us to carry 3 of these forward into PSR for further study, one of them being code upgrade, at least one ad reno option, and at least one new construction option. So after the meeting with the subcommittee, we've narrowed it down to those 3. We will still be getting cost estimate information on all 6 of these to verify in another way that we are making the right decision. And then during the next phase, with the MSBA, we will be taking those 3 options and narrowing it down to 1. So first option, code upgrade, that's no addition. It's simply taking your existing building and doing what we can on the inside to bring it up to code for accessibility, for life safety, for energy efficiency, fire protection, plumbing, all of that. Next option, we looked at an addition that is over here to the east of the existing school. This is classrooms only. So this involves demolishing the classroom wing of the existing Shaker Lane School, which is the oldest portion of the building. It's the one that has the least amount of air conditioning and fire protection and structural capacity, and replacing it with new. The other addition renovation option we looked at was doing the addition to the north of the school. Same idea, demolishing the academic wing, the classrooms, and building new classrooms. Any comments or questions on the ad reno options? This 2.1 is the one that was preferred by the subcommittee. Okay, the new construction options. These first 2 are on the Shaker Lane campus itself. 3.1 puts it in the upper field. The existing Shaker Lane is right here, sort of that dark gray blob that you can see. And so this new construction could be done completely while the existing Shaker Lane is fully operational. And once the new school is built, the kids move on over there, and then we demolish the existing school and clean up the site. The second option would be using the lower field for the new construction option. Same story here, where the existing school can be used throughout construction, move over and don't disrupt any of the learning. However, the main difference that people really liked between these 2 is that in 3.1, this entire southern portion of the campus is accessible to the general public. So all of the fields are consolidated in the lower portion. All of the community use portions of the school are in the lower portion. And then everything above sort of this boundary line is safe and protected for the kids to be outside with no contact with other cars that are driving by. And so it was just a really nice way to divide the site up. In option 3.2, it sort of separates the upper field from the rest of the campus and makes the circulation not quite as nice, not quite as community oriented as the first one, and doesn't fit quite as nicely on the site. It's a smaller space to build in. So of these two options, 3.1 was preferred by the subcommittee. Any questions on those before I move on?
I do. Marilee, just one thing, this was raised, I think after I had seen this, that in the option 3.1, and I looked to Kelly and Steve Mark to correct me if I'm wrong, but where the upper field would be, I think that would, that's what part of the wetland is as you come into the building. So if you look at one on the CODA upgrade, as you enter the current school campus, it's that island to the right as you enter. Yes, yes. I believe that's wet. Please, Kelly, Steve, please correct me if I'm wrong.
You're right.
It is wet.
I think so. Yeah, I've driven by it recently.
Right. So yeah.
So I can clarify this. These are very diagrammatic. It's for testing the size of things on the site.
Sure.
And this little baseball diamond here is showing basically the size of how much space is here. This a field could fit there. I don't know if there's room down here further, not shown, where another field could fit and avoid the wetlands. But this whole area could be used for all kinds of recreation. It could be soccer fields, doesn't have to be baseball. Okay. So there's a ton of space there without getting involved in the wetlands.
Okay. Okay. Just wanted to clarify. Thank you.
Yep. Thank you. That's a good point.
Another good point about this, the 3.1 is the egress onto Shaker Lane. There is the DPW uses that currently, but that's actually, I wonder how much input, if any, at this point, DPW has had relative to that.
So just for clarification, I think the road that DPW uses is a little bit further down Shaker Lane and not in the area that's shown here on option 3.1. School property does back up to Shaker Lane as this picture on 3.1 depicts. So there is room to put the driveway there. If further up in that picture in the other corner that you can't see is the current access that DPW uses, just for clarification.
We have a traffic consultant who's going to be looking at this more carefully. Some of the things that we will consider is the existing road, because obviously it's already sort of cleared and it's graded, and it would be nice to reuse it. But we were hesitating because the access point up here at Shaker Lane is quite narrow, and we think it's safer to have a little bit more space there so the cars coming in both directions have more of a chance to see what's going on before the turn happens. This option would allow either one of those options to be used without really reconfiguring the scheme. So we'll be working more with our traffic consultant and with DPW to figure out the best option for how the site circulation will work.
Thank you.
Anything else on those? All right, now Whitcomb Field. This is over by the Russell Elementary School, and this was suggested by, I believe, somebody on the select board. And I'm really glad that we looked at this. We looked at it pretty in depth because this field right here is certainly large enough to fit the new school. There is a brook running along here and some wetlands. Because this is a waterway, there's a 200-foot riparian zone that we have to stay out of. And that's why this shape is the way that it is. And so it does fit on the site. However, there were a lot of issues raised by the subcommittee that made this not very desirable. First being that this is already a fairly congested site. The high school students are coming over and using these two fields while school here is already in session. So if you have high school students coming over to use the field at the same time that you're having buses and parents and everybody drop off and or pick up their kids, release the kids. And as of right now, there's only one way in and out of this entire campus. That pose serious issues of congestion and safety and impacts on the surrounding neighborhood. There is a little dirt road here that leads up past the library and then ultimately out to Shattuck Street. And there would be an opportunity to add a secondary access into the site. But even with that, that doesn't change the fact that there's going to be a lot of traffic during certain times of the day. Every day, this is going to be an ongoing issue that people have to deal with if we move to this site. Another issue is that this field is currently used for recess and sports by the elementary school. And if we take away that field, then it really takes away a lot of the play space for the Russell Street School. There is an opportunity to build a shared playground here that could be shared between the two schools, but it's really not an ideal situation because then you have kids that are really young sharing space with kids that are much older, and it cuts the space in half for both groups, and it's not ideal. And then I think the other main point that was made is that it's pretty tight around here, and so the MSBA requires us to show how the school could be expanded by adding 4 classrooms. And there's not, 4 classrooms doesn't take a lot of space, but right here, we're really tight right here. And right here in the corners, we could add out in this direction, but then that really takes away from the outdoor learning opportunities that is important to the staff at Shaker Lane. So for these reasons and all the other reasons that were looked at in the evaluation criteria, this site was ultimately found to be not desirable. Any questions about that one?
Just a comment, Mary Lee. We also talked about the reality that if we did build on another site other than the Shaker Lane property, we would be responsible for paying the total cost for demolishing or the Shaker Lane School with a price tag. Mike helped us out with that. It'd be over $1 million. So that certainly was a deterrent as well.
Yes, thank you, Kelly. I've forgotten that. The MSBA will help pay for demolishing the existing building as long as you're on the same site. If you move the school and you build somewhere else, the MSBA wants nothing to do with this. And so it would be up to the town to figure out demolishing it or maintaining it or reusing it. And so that's a substantial cost.
So that'd be a net cost of $500,000 then, right? Because if they were going to pay for half of it, it was $1 million to demo. We'd be responsible for the other half. Correct.
I'm not sure about the half. I'm not sure how much the town would be responsible for.
Just assuming that MSBA just using 50% as a number there. So if it's $1 million.
Yeah, whatever the percentage is, that's correct.
If we're on the same site, we'd get the reimbursement. If we go to Whitcomb, we're paying the full $1 million. So it's a net expense, further expense that we would bear for an additional $500,000. So it'd be $1 million instead of $500,000.
Yes, exactly.
If you were demoing the building,
correct.
The town can use it for other purposes if they want to, but it would be their decision to make.
Right.
Anything else on these? And I'll go through the evaluation criteria and the results of that. Okay, so evaluation criteria. These items were, everybody from the SBC had a chance to give input to this list before the subcommittee met. So that's really a way of allowing the full committee to direct the decisions of the subcommittee, even though not everybody is at that subcommittee meeting. So the way that this was calculated is each one of the sites was evaluated for each one of these different consideration points. Everybody on the subcommittee voted, assigning them a value of 0 to 4. And then each one of these numbers represents an average of the 5 subcommittee members. So out of the 5 of them, this one got a score of 1.6 on the adequate buildable area. Then what we did is these were each added up to give a score to each subcategory. And then all of these subcategories were added up to give an ultimate total at the top. So this top line here where it says totals shows the final score of all these options compared to each other. The top choice by far was option 3.1, which was the new construction on the upper field. Second place is really a tie. I don't consider those to be substantially different. A tie between the other new construction option and the addition renovation option with the addition to the east of the school. I thought it was very interesting to see that the Whitcomb site option actually came in slightly lower than even the code upgrade option. So the subcommittee really felt strongly that that site would not meet their needs. And so based on these results, I think we have really clear direction of which two options plus the code upgrade to carry forward into the next phase with the MSBA. Any questions on this one? All right, and I just want to give you a closer look of these two options, the addition renovation that was preferred and the new construction option that were preferred. This was the level of detail that we looked at all of these options, explaining where things were and generally how the site would be laid out. And so now you can just see them a little bit bigger and get a better idea of what we're talking about.
Plus, the conversation at the subcommittee had a lot of benefits and drawbacks that were added on other slides and information that each one of these options were really reviewed in detail on those items as well to try to come together with a conclusion.
One thing that's missing from the conversation that we talked about as a subcommittee is we really need to have an estimate of the costs of each design, and that could very well, if there was a significant difference, may sway the subcommittee's way that they were voting. Pretty hard to. I mean, we're pretty quick to agree on the design, but without having the costs in front of us, it made it a little more difficult to feel confident that we had all the information. So I believe that we're going to have some numbers by the end of July. Is that correct?
Yes, we will be getting estimates from our cost estimator on July 26th. And at that time, we will share the results with the OPM so they can sort of do a double check and make sure that the numbers look good. And then we will present it to the SBC so you can take the cost information into account when verifying whether or not these are the right options that you want to move forward with. At this point, because it is so early in the process and the options we're looking at are extremely diagrammatic, it's really just what is the cost per square foot of new construction for this size and this complexity of building? What is the square foot for addition and renovation? And so the value in those numbers is really going to be in comparing the options to each other. They're not going to be a reliable number like this building will cost this much money. It's more like a new option is going to cost this much in relation to a addition renovation option. And so it's going to be sort of just a check that we're moving in the right direction. It'll give us an opportunity to revisit it if we need to. And then there will be 2 more cost estimates done before we get to the town meeting and town vote. There will be one after we've chosen a final option out of all of these. And then there will be another one at the end of schematic design, which is where they have a lot of information. It's going to be a pretty detailed and pretty accurate estimate. And that's the number that you'll use to set the budget for the project.
I would say the cost estimator that we use does this all the time. So essentially, they're very in tune with what the market bears right now. So they're using information and resources that are very current as far as the cost estimate goes. So we provided the square footage of each of these options and they're putting dollar signs to it. We haven't picked mechanical systems. We haven't picked envelope materials. There's a lot of unknowns. So it's really a high level, rough order of magnitude, we call it, as far as the cost estimate goes. But nonetheless, it's a comparison. So we call it a comparative evaluation of the different costs.
Were those square footages on the presentation anywhere?
No, they are not. We are basing it off of the MSBA guidelines. While we're going through this process, we're simultaneously doing visioning and programming with our educational planner and with Kelly and Michelle and a whole team of people at the school. And their job is to look at the guidelines and get that into alignment with the Shaker Lane programs. So it's not uncommon to see schools that add a lot of space into the special ed programs. There's a lot more support than what the MSBA lists in their guidelines. That's usually absolutely no problem getting that approved by the MSBA as a reimbursable cost. And then there's other little tweaks here and there that are being made throughout the program. But generally, I think we can expect this building to be around 85,000 square feet.
Okay, and that's the number the cost estimator's using?
I think close to that, Meryl. It's as of right now, it's to compare apples to apples. We are using it's $1 per square footage. So if we use the MSBA guidelines, we just can scale it up or down depending on what the final program ends up being.
Although it's just to clarify, it's for options for the add reno options and the code upgrade options. It's not a new construction. So it's more of a renovation materials bringing up to code. So there's not the same universal dollar cost per square foot for the exercise. And then there's also site differentials too, as well. So there's that variable as well.
Okay. I just like to check things. That's my thing. I do estimating, and I have 5 companies worth of databases on projects of this size. So,
oh, cool. Well, we're happy to share that. Yeah.
Including public schools, Mike?
Yep, Bond Brothers does public schools.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Great. Yep, the more information we have, the better we'll come up with numbers and everything. Suresh, get your hand up.
Yes, a quick one. The square footage also, Mike, would kind of vary because under the add reno, the reno part with using the existing building, the add could be a little bit higher, whereas the new construction, everything is more efficient and you get less square footage. And by the way, say hello to Dave Capaldo when you see him. I go back.
I know him. Yeah.
I go with David about 30 years now.
I don't work there anymore, but I still keep in touch with folks.
Okay.
All right. So do we want to, unless there's any other questions about the options, do we want to get some more information about the educational program update, or do we want to get a vote on what to proceed with the options, what options to proceed with?
If I may, I think this is something I'd ask Chuck about as the representative from the select board, how he'd like to handle this. Chuck, we had also talked about the possibility of bringing this before the select board and school committee as well, and potentially the finance committee. So what's your take on it? Because this, with the recommendations, this does narrow this down a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, I think if there's something that I think Marilee might have mentioned that she was preparing something for our presentation. I think that if we can just have a joint meeting at whatever, if it's going to be a school committee presentation, and the select board can be there at that presentation, or it can be at a select board meeting, or whatever the case may be. But I think it is important for the select board, the full body, to be present to see the presentation. And it's going to be impact to neighbors and things like that. So we want to make sure we're communicating with everybody, not just those that are going to be using the school. So the short answer is yes. I do think the select board should be included, and probably the finance committee as well.
Yeah, that was the intent all along, just to get the recommendations put together, and then the
Yep.
next part of the meeting you'll see at the end where we want to schedule that meeting, to sit down and make sure everybody's included.
I guess it's the question though, Mark, is to say whether or not we would actually, we'd want to, does the committee want to then take a vote saying that's the recommendation to the select board and the school committee? That's the question, and arguably the finance committee as well. So,
Well, Ryan, that was the charge to the subcommittee to review everything and come up with a recommendation. So now the recommendation is option 1, 3.1, 2.1, I believe are the recommended options. That's not to say that the presentation can show, just as we discussed here, here's everything that was looked at. Here is the recommendation from the subcommittee for this project. And then give us enough time, we'll answer, questions back and forth. If there's anything that needs to be looked at again, we'll have time to do that. But their charge was to come out with a recommendation.
That's exactly right, Mark. I think that the select board would take the recommendation of this body and endorse it.
Correct. Thank you.
okay. So, so then we can take that recommendation and ask for a vote of the full Shaker Lane committee. Is that how people would like to proceed?
Correct. The subcommittee is making a recommendation to the SBC. The SBC is accepting their recommendation. Oh, well, you're voting on accepting their recommendation for the options that they're presenting.
Okay. So as I understand it, then the three options that we would be recommending is option 1, option 2.1, and option 3.1. Is that correct? Okay.
Correct.
All right. So can I get a motion to make to approve or recommend MSBA options 1 for code upgrade, options 2.1 for renovation and addition, and option 3.1 for new construction?
So moved.
Second. So that was moved by
Bob Romley.
Bob and seconded by Kelly. Okay, we'll do a roll call vote. Kelly
Quenchi, yes.
Stacy,
Stacey Maris, yes.
Chuck,
Dr. Coase, yes.
Bob Romley,
Bob Maroma, yes.
Michael Scaduto,
Mike Scaduto, yes.
okay, and Ryan Ferrari, yes. Okay, that is unanimous. So
With the understanding that we're going to be presenting to finance, select board, school committee, everybody's going to be involved in this as well. So
okay. And just a flag for those of you, for everybody on the meeting. I know Chuck and I were in a meeting earlier today and still talking about Wickham. So just be prepared that I think there are some people who still look favorably upon that option, but maybe don't understand all the other components to it. So it's just something that it's an important thing to message as you go along in this exercise. So, okay. Next up is the educational plan. So, Mark, did you want to talk about that?
Well, I think Merrill Lee, they're going to pull up their the balance of their presentation now. They have a lot of information that these guys have been working very hard, very diligently with all the staff and all the educational planners to get, as she mentioned, all the programming done, all this information. So Merrill Lee's going to go through that right now and just update everybody where we are.
All right, thanks, Mark. This is where we are in the PDP schedule. We're here on the 17th. We're right on schedule where we thought we were going to be, and we are plugging along, and we have our path clear ahead of us to have the PDP voted on by the SPC on the 21st, and then we can submit it to the MSBA on August 30th. So everything is rolling right along. In terms of presenting these options to the select board and the finance committee and the school committee, sooner rather than later is probably good. I'm ready to give that presentation at any time, and the next 2 weeks is probably good. So we can talk about scheduling that later on, but we're on board and happy to help. All right, so we are continuing our visioning and working on the educational program. We are right here. We have 2 more sessions left, and by the end of these 2 sessions, we will have the educational program draft done for the district. The MSBA has us re-examine it a couple more times during this process, so that's the only reason it's a draft. And we will also have the space summary template, which is the MSBA guidelines for the square footages compared to what Shaker Lane actually needs. So the customizing of this project to your district's needs. So that we'll have that very quickly. And then on the 31st, we'll be presenting some interior options, early options, diagrammatic, programmatic options to the subcommittee on the 31st. So we've had, looking at this, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 visioning events and programming events happen so far. The most recent 3, we went to the school, we walked through some classrooms, we saw teachers teaching in action, and then we had what's called an initial listening session, where we met with this group of people who are the visioning working group. And by the end of this meeting, our educational planner guided them through this. There was a lot of discussion and questions asked, and he had people go through exercises to really get at what the district needs. And so by the end of this meeting, Michelle and her team of educators had come up with these initial project goals. Establishing these early at the beginning of this process really gives us a roadmap of how to make decisions going forward and reminding ourselves of what are the most important things and what sort of evaluation criteria, again, do we want to look at as we're developing the design.
Marilee, can you go back to that for 1 second? Can I just say that picture with Michelle in it here in the top is like worthy of like a brochure. It's like, you know, going forward to people saying, hey, this is how we do educational planning. It's such a great picture. You know, then you can use that sometime in the future. I just wanted to comment on that.
Your audio sounds really weird to me. Is it just me or is it everybody?
Did you hear me?
No, it's not good.
Oh, sorry. Okay, forget it.
Wait a me.
Yeah, you're good with us.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Is it me or is it?
Yeah, I think it is.
Yeah.
So anyways, that was just a funny comment. I think that's a great picture.
Mary Lee, you sound clear. We're sounding.
Okay, give me a sec.
Yeah. I'll take this moment to appreciate Kelly and Michelle because their team is absolutely fantastic. They've been working with what they got, right? You know, so it's really just been a great exercise. And I think the education team is really open to this process and making making the project fulfill the next Shaker Lane generation of program needs. So it's really been really eye-opening to watch just the process. It's really to watch it unfold. Kelly, you want to add to anything? You've been to a lot of these and they've just been really magical almost to watch.
The process has been, you know, very well designed and thorough. And I mean, it's really for me as a superintendent to be able to be part of this and not only witness the growth in our educators, but their ability to see the future of what our K2 students need. And it was very evident during every workshop that we've had so far. I mean, they know where we need to go and certainly aligned with our vision, aligned with our curriculum revisions, our instructional pedagogy reviews, et cetera. So for me, it was just nice to see that alignment and the emphasis of, you know, what future education can look like at Shaker Lane School.
Mary Lee, how's your audio? Did we buy enough time for you? Maybe. Because we can keep talking about how great the visioning has been.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're a little faint. Maybe move if you're using your camera mic, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe just either yell or
I'll try to join on my phone.
okay. I'll take this moment as well to just also say essentially this ed program and these goals that we're going to be reviewing later on in the presentation, those are the things that we keep front and center to say, oh, if this is a decision that we need to make, these were our priorities. So it's really going back to make sure essentially that we're meeting these goals and fulfilling the program to make sure it's a robust project for the district.
All right. Am I good?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay.
Do we sound weird to you though, or no?
No, you sound great. You sound great.
Okay. All right. We buy you
All
some
right.
time. Carry on.
So we had a visioning session, number 1, and this was a 5-hour meeting. And at the end of this, we came up with guiding principles for the ED program. So now we have project goals, guiding principles, and then the program workshop is what came next. And so we took those guiding principles and we took the goals and we use them in the back of our minds while we're talking about the various parts of the program. And so these are the categories that we looked at pretty in depth and came up with talking points and trying to get the big picture of what are the adjacencies, how do these programs work with each other, what does each one need. And it always takes a little bit of effort to sort of break free of the existing school that you're in, right? And try to imagine how it could be and not just focus on what you're doing in your existing classroom. And so these exercises that the ed planner, Mike Perillo, took us through, I think were really successful in getting everything into this mindset of, okay, how are we going to move forward? How are we going to build the best possible school that's going to last decades into the future? All right, so I'm going to skip all this. There we go. Now, the community survey, it has been live for quite a while now, and it's still going to be open until August 2nd. But I checked and we had 370 responses by last weekend or this weekend. And so that was a really high number, actually. It's 4.7% of the adults in Littleton, which normally we get closer to around 2 or 3%. So it's plenty of data to go ahead and start to analyze it. We'll keep an eye on the responses that keep coming in to make sure there's nothing else that changes. But at this point, with almost 400 responses, we pretty much have a good feeling of the way the wind is blowing. So this survey is intended to be a tool to help us figure out what should happen with the new school. It's not a survey that is going to tell us whether or not there's broad general support for the project. And it turns out that the people who filled out the survey were exactly the people that we wanted. They are people who have a personal connection to the school. Most of them are parents of Shaker Lane students or previous students or students who are going to start in the school soon. They have been in the school recently, so they are informed about what this current school looks like, presumably what some of the strengths and shortfalls are of the existing school. And they're exactly the right people to be commenting on what we want for the new school. We had asked them in the survey to just share their aspirations for the project. And of the 370 responses, there were 10 really clearly defined topics that kept coming up over and over and over. And I found it really interesting reading through the responses that this is a really sophisticated group of people. They seem to really understand education and what is going on with the children and what a 21st century education really looks like. So I give you a few direct quotes here of things that people said. And it feels like a really solid survey response and really great results from this one. We asked people to prioritize educational spaces and educational experiences. We intentionally did not ask people to rank each one on a scale of 1 to 5. We sort of forced people into comparing them to each other because otherwise everybody's just going to say, oh, they're all important, 5s down the road, and it wouldn't really give us any revealing information. What this first one showed is that by far, people are listing the library and the media center as their top priority for the school. And that aligns really closely with the work that the visioning and programming people are doing. They talk about how they want to infuse books everywhere throughout the school. They want the library to be the hub of the school. They want little mini libraries in each of the grade levels and just access to books everywhere. There's a lot of initiatives to get parents reading to their kids at home. And it was really nice to see that fall completely in alignment with the members of the community. Just interestingly, there's a sort of a inverse relationship between library and visual arts. You could sort of see how people were prioritizing those. And then everything else, as expected, it's hard to prioritize these things against each other. And as you can see, it's sort of, you know your top priority, you know your bottom priority, and the others just kind of fall in the middle. Educational experiences, again, strong preference right here for indoor and outdoor play. People are recognizing that kids of this age group really learn through play and through movement, and it's so important to give them movement breaks throughout the day. They learn better when their body is moving instead of just sitting in a desk. And it was great to see that this is in alignment with what the program and visioning people have been talking about as well. All right, this one was a little tricky. We wanted to hear about safety and security outside of, security cameras and security vestibule, things like that. We wanted more of these concepts of, mental health aspects of it, and do children feel emotionally safe going to school here? And notably, everybody believes that bullying prevention is the #1 way to keep kids feeling safe at school. Interestingly, this honoring diversity came in last. And what I suspect happened is that it's possible that people don't really understand what this means. And so if you're ranking priorities of all of these, if you don't understand what one means, then just put it last and move on. So I suspect that's what happened, because based on all of the free answer responses, it is obvious that there's a lot of support for supporting children with neurodiverse needs and abilities. So this did not align with the rest of the responses, and I suspect what happened is this term is just maybe not familiar to everybody. This quote here, somebody wrote this word for word, and I think this really speaks a long way. It seemed representative of the feedback that they were getting. People did not like having to prioritize among these because they felt they were all really important. All right, we asked about any community values and local history that people would want to be included. And again, this really goes a long way to show that the town of Littleton really values inclusivity and really values sustainability and values community and the feel of community and making this school a community school. There are some other ideas about including information about the indigenous peoples that were here before and the farming history of the town, as well as the beautiful nature surroundings. So this is a really great feedback to get, and we'll certainly be able to incorporate aspects of these moving forward with the project.
Mary Lee, can I jump in for a second about that last slide?
Yes,
so
please.
Something that we've been talking with the district, with Kelly and Michelle about is what's the story? What's the story that Littleton, what does Shaker Lane School want to show? What is this kind of message about the school that we want to share? We being you, that we're conveying through building. So these type of nuggets of information we're gonna hone in on something and really make it about Littleton, because this building is essentially reflective of your community. So making sure that we're embracing all of these values, community values and history, that's the heart of the school. So I just wanted to jump in that these are not going away anytime soon. So these will be patterns and communication methods throughout that we've heard, and they're beautifully documented, and they're not going to be throwaways. These are definitely going to be stories that we're going to tell going forward about the building. So
thank you, Meryl.
Yeah.
All right, we asked about sustainability, and here's another example where people listed all electric building as the lowest priority, but that does not align with the comments that people were making. So I think this was another issue where it's pretty even across the board, and so people were just having trouble prioritizing these. And I think that reveals that people find them equally important. I think that this identifies that there is some opportunities for education for the general population about what these terms mean and what is attainable for this school and how we can be sustainable moving forward, both environmentally speaking and financially speaking. All right, we asked about people using the fields, because if we're intending to build a new school on one of the fields or or make one of the fields smaller, depending on which option was chosen, we wanted to understand how the community was using these spaces and if it was going to become a hot button issue for some reason. We found that of the respondents, about a third of them used the fields, which is a large number. Like a third of people, that's saying a lot. 1 in 3 people are using the fields. So this pie chart should be read in that way, that yes, these fields are important. The size of the words here is correlated to the number of times somebody mentioned something. So a ton of people use it for baseball, camp tea, recreation. Some people said just we go there to play, we go there to just run around. So the fields are definitely heavily used. And so that is really another verification that if the new construction option on the upper field is chosen, giving all that field and recreation space, making it available to the community would be heavily favored. All right, and then finally, here's some more summarization of the top 10 things that kept coming up over and over again in these comments. And it was really remarkable to see that there's a large amount of consensus among the people who were filling out this survey. And even more remarkably, these 10 things align very closely with the project goals and the guiding principles that the visioning committee and the programming committee came up with. So this makes this really simple for us to create project goals that everybody's in alignment with: the school building committee, the community at large, and the Shaker Lane visioning and programming and staff. So we use these project goals as our own roadmap of moving forward, and making decisions now about what's important helps us make decisions down the road, because we'll refer back to this over and over and just remind ourselves of, okay, this is what was important. Let's focus on meeting these goals, and that will help us make decisions. So this right here is a draft of project goals. We do project goals for all of our projects here in the office, and we found that it really helps to focus discussions. So I would like for us to take a minute to look at these and discuss them, and just give feedback on these and see if we're happy with them moving forward into the project. These can also change. If we find that something's not working, we'll revisit them and we can change them. But this is important to make sure that we're understanding what you want and getting buy-in and consensus from everybody.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments on the project goals?
I don't have any comments other than just in the meetings that I've been with, this seems like it's very much in line with what everyone has talked about. So I think this is a really great overall representation of kind of what our objectives are. It looks good to me. I don't know if anyone else has anything else to add to it, but it looks like a really good summary of what we've been working on.
I'd like to echo what Stacy has said. I mean, it really did capture the conversations that we were involved in throughout the process. And nice to see it put together like this. Very easy to read and understand, and the direction is very clear.
Can I ask where we say the second bullet down, be a community resource for the town? And then, so is there, something more specific about that? Like, different people might define community resource in a different way, or different ways, I should say.
Haley?
I mean, I can speak to that a little bit. Just that's kind of been a little bit of my platform in regards to making sure the school can be a community resource for everybody. So having the fields accessible, understanding how Park and Rec is using the school buildings as well. It's very integrated into our Park and Rec programs. And I believe there is going to be a meeting with Park and Rec to identify how they are using the schools and how they envision using the schools. So that's kind of been a lot of what I've spoken to. I think it also will help us as well when it comes to voting to ensure that we have some community use of the buildings as well, just so that they're effective and efficient within the community. They're not just being used from 9 to 3 for students. It's a pretty big investment and resource for the town to use. So if we can use it as much as possible, I think that will really help move the vote along.
We're really looking at the Shaker Lane School continuing and being more of a community school.
And that makes great sense. I think if the bullet can better reflect that, because the local history and community values, while important, are a little squishy compared to I think what you were saying, Stacy, is great. I think that'll help. I think it's a great value and certainly something we want to shoot for with this. So. But just a small recommendation to Studio G.
So I will reword this, and I'll just probably email you, Stacy, until we are happy with the wording, and then send it out to everybody on the SBC.
Right. Anybody else have any other feedback? Good. All right. Don't think if everybody's satisfied with that list and maybe reversing it, we should be okay. Let's see.
Was there anything else, Mary Lee? There were 2 more slides. Anything else to show in part of the presentation? Or
Okay, yes, this is useful for you to know. We asked how people prefer to get their information about updates of what's going on in the town. And it looks like by far everybody prefers to just get an email about it or see it maybe on the Facebook page. We have the newsletter and the project website down here, but I suspect that's a function of these being pretty new means of communications. People aren't used to them yet. So I imagine these numbers will grow over time. And while these were not favored, I believe that these are probably more important among other populations, maybe the seniors who weren't necessarily filling out this survey. So I think this is just good feedback for the town to be aware of, let you know that what you're doing appears to be very successful.
Yeah, we'll make sure not to let our colleagues at LCTV know they've been beaten by a bulletin board. So that's don't want to hurt any feelings unnecessarily. So yikes. Okay.
And then the last is just the action items. And we've already talked about the presentation to the school board, select board. We can add the finance committee to this. Oops. Jeez. And one thing we would like to talk about is additional community outreach. The survey is really just the first thing that we've done. This community outreach is going to be about helping you educate the town about the project, and you'll have some time to sort of build support among the community. And this is how we'll be helping with producing any graphics, helping you with marketing. We can't directly, by law, advocate for the school project. It's a conflict of interest, but we can help support you in your efforts. So community outreach, if you have suggestions of things you would like us to do and things that we can prepare for, this is an ongoing effort that's going to be going all the way from now until town vote and beyond.
Mark, you have your hand up?
Yeah, just real quick. In other projects, other school projects that I've worked on, now that we're, sadly in the middle of July and school, a month or two is, going to get ready to get back to school. Any of the open houses that you have at the schools, we didn't make presentations, but we had a table with some renderings and information about the project at some of the school open houses. So be it the high school, be it the middle school, elementary school, if you guys feel comfortable with that, we're not advocating, as Marilee was saying, but we're just having information there that if people have questions about, we can certainly provide that an answer. So that's one thing that I've found successful in other communities.
But that's great. We'll certainly take you up on that opportunity.
And any other way to get the word out to the community as a whole, let us know if there's other meetings. We joked before about the carnival, but anywhere that you think the community as a whole might be around, and you may have a little booth or a little table or a little rendering or a board or something, just about the project. And if people want to come by and ask a question, have a little flyer to give them or anything like that, if you can come up with, just let us know, and we'll work on scheduling and getting people to be there to do it.
I know tomorrow is Third Thursday, Mark, which is where every month the Parks and Recreation Department does a community event. I think it's at Fay Park. So I know it's short notice, but you asked. So
what time and what does that entail?
I don't have it in front of me right now, but I was reminded by one of the staff members that it is going on this week. So I think if you in the absence of me running the meeting and doing that, you might just want to check the town website and see whether or not that might be an opportunity for you or a member of your staff to hand out some of the flyers for I know we did postcards, I think, for the survey. I don't know if this is a survey. No, it ended, right? Are we at the end of the survey?
No, it's open until the 2nd.
Yeah.
August 2nd. That's right. So that's a possibility. Probably the best, way to reach the other members of the community for this, between now and the 2nd. So something to think about, Mark.
Okay, absolutely. And initially I thought you said Thursday, and I said I'm in.
Yeah, they do serve beer, Mark. There is.
All right. Well, what time we're there?
Yes, there is alcohol there.
I don't know, depending on what the schedule is. I don't know if that's going to be doable for tomorrow, but if they have another one in August, but obviously that's beyond the time when the survey is. But let me talk to my colleagues at Studio G to see if there's any possibility we could do something if it's in the afternoon or something. That might be doable. Where do they have? Okay, well I'll look it up.
Okay, sure.
They run from 5 to 7:30.
5 to 7:30 at one of the fields.
I think it's Fay Park, I believe. So okay.
All right. We'll talk about it and see if there's something we can pull off. But anything else like that anybody can think of, just let us know. And we'll certainly try to. We as we said many times, we don't ever want to run into a situation where someone says, I know nothing about this project and you didn't tell me anything. We want to cast a wide net, make sure we touch every place we can. You're always going to have, some people that won't be able to see things, but any suggestions you have would be great.
Okay. All right. I would note Chuck did have to pop off to get out of the meeting. We still have quorum, so which is good. I think the next question is really just trying to fill in some of the elements of the schedule.
Correct.
And so if the team can remind me, the MSBA review. When is the MSBA vote again? Is it?
Can I bring up the schedule? So can I share?
Yeah.
No, thanks. Can't see that. Can you guys see the schedule?
Nope.
No.
Not yet.
What is going on here?
Ryan, can I just ask while Mark's looking that up, do we still have a quorum if I have to sign off
If you leave, then we will not have a quorum. But I don't know if there's anything else that we're voting on this evening.
I don't believe there's anything else we're voting on.
Informational,
This is just an update. This is a schedule update. I reached out to a couple of people today. We got some information from the MSBA that we have been carrying an 8-week submittal date for the PDP to the PSR, different time frame. And in reality, it's 12 weeks, so it modified the schedule a little bit. We just wanted to update everybody to where we are at this present date. So we are still shooting to get the PDP in on the end of August, on the 30th. Then they have their standard requirement review times. So all these numbers and times will cascade down based on they have 21 days to review. And then they send any comments to us, and then we have 14 days to respond to their comments. And then we move into the preferred schematic. Once we come up with the option that we're looking for, then we move into preferred schematic. The first board meeting I think you were asking for, Ryan, is the approval of the preferred schematic, which based on the schedule is going to be in the February of 25. That's the board vote from the MSBA would be there. So we have a series of milestones that we need to meet going through that point, getting the PSR completed, getting the PDP submitted and completed, moving on to the PSR, developing that schematic, getting the milestones for the meetings for the school committee, getting approval by the school committee for those things, but so we can present to the board for their approval. So that date, that 12 weeks modified some of the timeframes that we initially had. We were hoping to try to make the May town meeting, but due to that change in the board of directors at the MSBA meeting every other month, we missed one of the months. So we had you're not going back in for another couple of months. We're now looking at schematic design ending at around the 25th of September. And we're looking at, and Ryan, you and I spoke briefly about this today, getting approval for the town meeting in October. So we've got a little bit more time to, promote the project once we get into PSR. Like Merrill said earlier about at that point, we'll have concrete cost estimates. We'll know exactly the option that we're working on, and that's the one that we're going to promote to the community, to the town as a whole. So we have a date of middle February of 25, and then a date of June of 25 are the two board meetings for the MSBA that we have to hit. And then we're looking at town meeting in October.
All right, Stacy, again, I don't think there's going to be any other vote. If you need to go, understood. I mean, that's.
Well, if we're not voting, I don't want to mess anything up with the notes, but we still have.
Oh yeah,
yeah. This is I think pretty much it. I mean, we can look at the cash flow really quickly, but this is pretty much it. This was the update we wanted to make sure everybody understood, because now these dates will cascade down based on these changes. So we're looking at construction starting somewhere around September, mid to end of September 26, being completed sometime in January right now of 29. So obviously, with school and everything, that's not ideal, but right now those are the dates based on that. And this is a living document. This will always change. There'll be things that come up that will modify this, but we'll update everybody when we have a committee meeting of where the schedule is. But that was the most recent change that we just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of.
So am I right to say that our key date that we're trying to do right now in terms of getting the school committee and Shaker Lane School Building Committee vote on the 21st of
Correct.
August?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and then the submission to the MSBA for the PDP on the 30th. There is no MSBA board approval of the PDP. It's just the school committee, and then it goes to the MSBA for their internal review, and then we move on to PSR. But PSR is the board meeting that has to be approved.
Okay.
And there's a facilities assessment subcommittee. Like once we start getting into PSR, there's a couple of internal things that we have to meet within the MSBA. But once that's all taken care of and we have the estimates, and we have the PSR ready, then it has to be approved by the board on or about the middle of February. Their schedule for 2025 isn't out yet, but we're just using that for based on what their dates were like last year. It's usually the middle of the month. So we'll look at that. If that changes, we'll certainly change it as it goes forward.
So Kelly, would you want to do the 14th as a joint meeting then?
We certainly can. Let's send it out tomorrow and see what we
Is that August 14th?
Yeah, for traction.
Yeah,
At least that was on the schedule, yeah.
Yeah, we're hoping to try to do something earlier because unfortunately it is summertime, and I think we're going to lose Studio G to a couple of awesome vacations. And I don't know if there's any way we can try to do it by the end of this month or maybe the first week of August, if we could do something special to have that conversation, because clearly they're vital to be there as part of the presentation. So
the PDP.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the presentation. This presentation to the school. Yeah, the joint presentations. I'm sorry. Did I misunderstand?
Yeah, maybe my mind was, it's focused on that educational plan. Maybe it was me. So we could try to go earlier and see what happens here. What are you thinking, Mark?
Well, I know Marilyn and Mary Lee are going to be gone, I think the first 2 weeks or so of August, or into the middle 2 weeks of August. So if there's a possibility of doing something, let me see if I have the schedule
You have
here.
the calendar, Mark, the one that has, yeah, there you go. Oh, yep. Bingo.
So,
Yep.
So
Or go back one, which has the, yeah.
All right, so we're here tonight. I think you guys leave here, right? I think these 2 weeks you guys are pretty much gone.
Yeah, if we can meet, if we can do it by August 2nd, that would be great. Otherwise, it's going to be tough to do it until the
next 2
19th.
weeks, yeah.
The 19th will be good again.
So any of the next three weeks, if we possibly could schedule a joint meeting of the school committee, select board, finance, to make this presentation or a truncated version of it or whatever, just to obviously keep them in the loop and keep them identified in case there's any changes. That gives us enough time to modify that before you have to vote on the 21st. You make the vote on the 21st, and then that's the PDP that gets submitted on the 30th.
Can I clarify? Oh, sorry, Kelly, go ahead.
Just a comment. Do we need to have that design meeting on the 31st prior to meeting with the other boards?
No, that's a separate issue. That doesn't affect the timing of the presentation to the select board and the other people.
I guess my concern would be if we have those cost comparisons or whatever phrase you would like to use. I think that would be helpful, because I'm sure that that would be part of the conversation during the evening.
Yeah.
Is there already a meeting scheduled of the select board on the 29th?
There tentatively, we had it as a bonus day. We've already had other meetings that, so it's a possibility, but I think maybe in the interest of time, I think maybe Kelly, you and I can take this conversation offline and reach out about it, chat about it later. So what we could do and what works for your board. As well as the fact that too, I think that maybe it might be prudent to add the FinCom to this, as well as and PMBC to the broader committee. So it's just something I think we need to be strategic about. I respect the fact that Studio G is trying to go on vacation, but that's a tight thing. And we've been, as a board, Chuck and I met, we had another meeting today as a retreat. So I don't want to, beat that drum too many times. So Kelly, would it be okay if we just talked about this offline tomorrow?
I have a couple of meetings in the morning. I should be free by around 11 o'clock. So
okay, why don't you call me when you're free, and we can chat about it. Okay.
So
Since I'm still here, so we're not getting those cost estimates until August 31st or July 31st. Is that correct?
July 26th.
Yeah,
and then we're going to share them with.
And you guys have to review them and then present them what day? The 31st.
We have a meeting first, the design site meeting, subcommittee meeting.
We can
present that meeting on the 31st is going to focus more on the programming and stuff inside the building. I believe we should be ready to discuss the cost stuff in the evening of the 29th.
So we have from the 29th. So we have from the 29th to the 2nd to try to get all of these committees together. Is that what you guys are trying to figure out, right?
Yeah, I mean, if they can do a joint meeting, if it's impossible, and then there's one group that's separate, and maybe there's another night it has to happen. I mean, I know it's hard to try to get everybody together in one spot, but we don't want to exclude anybody. You know, we want to be able to present to everybody that we can. It seemed more efficient to have representatives together from each committee in one meeting, but if it has to be maybe two meetings, but we're up against, you know, people not being available, so we want to try to be as effective and efficient and as quickly as possible.
So what weeks are Studio G gone? Is it the 5th to the 16th?
I'm out the 5th through the 16th. Merrill is out the 12th through the 23rd.
The 9th.
So
But yeah, the 9th through
we
the
could-
23rd. Yeah.
yeah, it's really the 12th through the 16th where we really just are not available.
Okay.
Mark, can I ask you, with the fact that we're moving it back, that it's moving back in terms of when we'll be in front of the MSBA again, can we, in terms of when you were going to submit, does that change anything in terms of when we have to submit this information?
It doesn't, but the way that everything's been structured now, and you just saw the breakdown for the schedule, we really want to keep the 30th as the date for us to submit it. You know, we had a conversation with Studio G and the whole team this morning about, you know, could we move this to the middle of September? Can we do whatever? And I think a lot of the items that we've already scheduled and put together are just based on the 30th. We don't want to extend time and spread the work out if we don't need to, you know, so I think the 30th is what we're going to try to hope to continue. So
That's fair to say. It's just that it adds a lot of things in terms of because we also talked about trying to appropriately bring the public into this too, so that when they hear about it. So, all right, well, Kelly, you and I will talk about this tomorrow. That's fine.
Mark, could you remind me of when the vote is going to happen for the school committee and the Shaker Lane Building Committee?
The vote for the building committee will be on the 21st of August.
August 21st for the PDP.
Yeah. That's the school building committee will vote the information that has been put together as the PDP, the big packet will be put together. We'll review it with you. And that's the package that you're going to vote to be submitted to the MSBA.
Is it the school committee as well, or just the?
No. It's just the school building committee.
Okay, perfect. Just wanted to clarify that.
Yep.
So the select board does not vote, the school committee does not vote, the finance committee does not vote. So it's really only the SBC that's voting on that.
But prior to the 21st, however this could work out, we want to make sure that all of those committees and the general public as much as possible, is informed of what the process is.
Yeah, that's helpful. Thank you.
Okay.
Suresh, you got your hand up there, sir?
Yeah, quick one. Let me just reconfirm with the MSBA. Sometimes they want the school committee vote, but that can follow a week later also. So it's like that's the vote to follow, or the school committee, whenever they're meeting, saying they're authorizing school building committee to review the final design, and they would agree with their analysis. So something to that effect, we can talk about that offline.
Okay.
I do have a question if we're at that point.
Sure.
I had a conversation with Steve Mark today, and somebody was looking at the Shaker Lane septic field. I know we've had this conversation before as a group, and I don't know who. Maybe Steve can help clarify. But there was a suggestion about a Title V inspection completed on that. I'm not sure whether that was from you, Mark, or Studio G, or where it's coming from. I guess the question I have is if this is covered within the budget that we already have, that's fine. But if it's not, it's really important that I have an idea of additional costs. I have not budgeted for any additional costs, so my responsibility, legal responsibility, is to make sure my budget comes in where it needs to by law. So I just want to be cautious here that I don't have additional expenses that we don't know about and we can't shoulder. So I'm just not sure. And if we were gonna get, I don't even know what a Title Five inspection cost is, so.
It's not that bad, Kelly. It's, maybe, it's less. I mean, I think people who know the answer better than I do in this call, but it's not outrageous.
Okay.
Well,
It may be
Steve,
a little more
is
complex.
Steve Marks still on the phone? Steve Marks, the septic expert based on the meeting the other day, right? He's-
Yeah. I'm not
Many
the
hats.
expert, but I have
Title.
not
Yeah,
the
no.
expert, but I was part of the meeting, and I'm gonna call Steve Laughlin tomorrow, who is the expert, and he's supposed to be sending me a proposal and an agreement for that Title V inspection, and then then we'll know what the cost is. I've been working with DPW on getting the current septic field accessible. It was pretty overgrown. I emailed a bunch of pictures to everybody. We walked through there. It was literally up to my waist with weeds and poison ivy and everything else. So,
Ouch.
so we went wading through it, and it was pretty bad. So, I got DPW to promise it would be done before the end of the month, and then they ended up getting in there, I think today, and we'll finalize it tomorrow, cutting down all the weeds in there. So, my point is, Steve Laughlin, should have access to do that Title V inspection at his convenience.
Excellent.
Okay.
I think that came out of the meeting the other day, did it not? That the suggestion was made to do the
Mark?
time. Yeah,
Hey, Mark, we got to, so we're about to lose our minutes taker, so we got to start wrapping this up. So,
okay. Any other
all right.
questions?
Any other questions for the committee? Anything else? Anything else? TTH, anyone?
No, we're good.
I'm good.
Okay, all right. With that said, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Second, Bob made the initial motion, Kelly seconded. Okay, so Kelly, those in favor, say Kelly.
Yes.
Okay, Stacy's gone. Bob Romley,
Bob Rumley, yes.
Mike Scaduto.
Thanks, Candido, yes.
Okay. All right, and Ryan, I vote yes. So we are ending at 8:28. I'm sorry, I apologize for having to end this so abruptly, guys. This is if I had again, it's kind of hard where we have the person taking the minutes needing to leave. So
Understood.
So with that said, Kelly and you and I will have a conversation. If you could give me a call tomorrow after your meetings, please give me a call on my cell phone. We'll go from there. So that said, I hope everyone has a pleasant evening.
Thanks.